Okay, we're back. We're back. I love how this podcast is just evolving, you know? Like I got my marshmallow dream bar. Tyler, I don't even know what those glasses are, but I welcome them because you are welcome to be all of who you are.
Thank you.
We were actually just talking. This isn't what today's podcast is going to be about. Actually, maybe it will. We were just talking about, like, I love being here in this studio. I love that I feel like I'm at home. I love that I can eat my marshmallow dream bars and drink my Diet Coke right here. I love that you're wearing your glasses. But I was asking you, I was saying, hey, can we like get these lights? Because you're the mastermind behind all this, you and your team, right?
Yeah.
Can we get these lights and like make my couch look more comfy and cozy? And you were saying that you can actually mobile set this for anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. We've done sets.
I don't know if I can take you seriously with this glasses, but keep them on. No.
We've done sets on top of mountains.
Have you really?
We've done them in gyms. We've done them in corporate settings. So we've, we have the capability. Now, once you're out of the studio, it's a bit more tricky to control the elements, right? So sound is one of the biggest factors. In here, everything is like triple insulated, even though the air conditioning is running and you can hear it.
Yeah, I can hear it.
The way that we sound engineer this is such that you won't know, right? Control for lighting. So it's pitch black in here because we run blackout curtains.
Yes, you do.
So there's no natural light coming in, so we can perfectly control that. The video, the way that we set the backdrop and the backlighting and the sets in here, it's very controllable. So the moment that you step outside of here, it's impossible probably to get to this level of quality with sound, lighting, and video.
Unless we replicate the, darkness and all of the things like that.
Yep.
So we can do some episodes on my couch someday, which would be fun.
Yep.
But also you can bring couches in here. And the reason I want to say this is because I really think my friends listening who want to do a podcast locally, you really need to come here to Tyler's studio because I'm looking at a couch right there. We can move this table. You guys can do so much here.
Yeah, we can.
And then we can be like podcast buddies. We can be like, hey, I record on the same set as Sally, who listens here.
Most people would never know, when one of our clients comes in and sets up, we set up the studio to be the same every single time, if that's what they choose. So you would actually never know that our episode today the next one coming in is filmed in the same studio.
Yeah.
We'll even change lighting. We'll change.
Really?
Yeah. We'll change backlighting. We'll change the photos. We'll change the plants. We'll change the screen. Right. So everything looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
And that's by design. You want it to feel like your own.
I love it. Okay. So, I also, just in case people didn't listen to the last episodes with you, because some people might be jumping in, I feel like we should remind them that you have a podcast and you guys, Tyler is like the greatest. So I'm so lucky that you're my friend. Like I am so lucky for so many reasons. Just the fact that you are such a great friend to me and always have been. And also you happen to be one hell of an interviewer. It's really awesome.
Thanks.
I love that you get to kind of make whatever this phase of Heidi's lane is, you get to make it, you're making it what it is with me. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's mutual. I mean, you don't have a lot of specifically
Did you say I don't have a lot of friends?
Well, in general,
you don't have a lot of friends, Heidi.
The male and female friendship dynamic tends to be taboo or a bit hard in a lot of cases, but I don't know that I have another female friend that I would say I'm as close to as you, that I trust the way that you do, and the feeling is mutual, where we create a lot of value for each other's lives. And so I'm equally, maybe more grateful.
I don't know if that's possible. So. Thank you. Thank you. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You wear this hat all the time.
Oh, yeah.
What does LV, I was trying to today, I'm like, is it Las Vegas loves sinners? What is LVLS?
No.
Las Vegas loves.
I mean, they do, but.
What is that?
So it stands for levels.
Levels. Okay. Is that a company or is that like a brand, like just something that a hat you made?
Yeah. So Levels is a brand that I started about a year ago. The idea behind it is we live in a world that's tough to exist in from time to time. And I think specifically this is a brand that's catered towards men, and men out there that society is convinced to just put on their boots and do their job and be strong and be masculine and provide for your family and protect. But sometimes the suicide rate among men is higher than it's ever been in the history of the world right now. And for the last 5 years, it's getting worse and worse.
Wow.
And I've had 6 men who I know well in the last 2 years commit suicide.
No way.
And that's just too many. And so as this started happening, and as I started to see more and more men suffer from deep mental health issues, I felt like I was somebody who might be able to help. And so I've built this brand as a community, as a media company, as an apparel brand, that I'm not pushing super hard right now, but we've done a couple of retreats this year. We have another one coming up. And the whole idea is like, it's, these are toxic times for masculine men. And most men, over 90% of men who commit suicide, there was 0 indications or signs that they were suffering. And so they suffer in silence. They don't feel like they have other good men that they can open up to and be vulnerable and cry and show emotion. And I want to change that because I know the power of being able to pick up the phone and call another man and say, dude, I'm hurting. It's become too much. And for them to be able to listen and receive that with grace in a safe place. And so if it's that hard for men to do, it's something that I've been able to achieve in my life. And so I want to be able to unlock that for other men.
I love that. I didn't realize the suicide rate was so high. I mean, what an awesome hat and an awesome brand.
Yeah.
I feel like, it is very widely accepted for women to have these retreats and women to cry and to know that we need to emote and express.
Yeah.
But you are right. Like there's a lot of pressure on men.
Totally.
Especially with maybe some of the feminism movements these days where women are becoming stronger.
Yeah.
It's almost like I saw this reel the other day that said, in order for a woman to respect the man that they're with, the man needs to outclass her, right? Which is, and I in some way, the man needs to outclass and be stronger and be more protective and provide more or whatever it is. And I actually think that there's some truth to that, right? Because women, we can do a lot, right? Yeah. But then I was also thinking about the flip side of how much pressure that must be for a man to feel like they need to do it all. Because I feel like as a woman, I am a woman who has to carry it all. I provide, I protect, sometimes I can't cry, sometimes I can cry, and it's a lot for me.
Yeah.
And it's not as widely acceptable yet for a man to cry. Do you cry?
If you've ever watched my podcast, you'll know that I'm super vulnerable with my emotion and my tears. Yeah. And by the way, I've always been wired that way, like to just show emotion whenever I feel like I should show emotion. But as I got trapped into this toxic masculinity cycle of like, no, you can't do that, I started to hold it back. And probably 2 or 3 years ago, I just said, I'm not going to do that anymore. Yeah. I'm going to just show exactly what's on my heart and mind. And that's a moment that I hope every man achieves. Or one day they wake up and they just go, you know what? It's okay to be emotional. Understanding that the place to do that might not be at home with your wife and kids all the time. Okay. Yeah. You've got to be strong. You have to be, willing to come home and put on that armor and show them that like daddy's got them. But like, you also need to have a place where you can get raw and real and vulnerable. And the only way to level up in these areas of your life that matter, health and mental health and spirituality and relationships and money is to be able to have that sort of outlet. And so that's what we hope to provide.
Wow. I feel like everyone listening needs to tell their husband to go to one of your retreats. How often do you do it?
Not often.
Yeah.
Once or twice a year
Okay.
is like the cadence that we've started out with since I started this. Our second one is coming up here in a couple of months. And we cap them. It's a very intimate
How many people?
audience. We did 25 at the last one. I
Okay.
think we're going to double it to 50,
Okay.
but I don't think we'll ever go over that because there's a lot of reasons logistically that 50 is sort of the high end of the cap of what you can do.
So what can we do? Now I'm like, listen, you're hearing me try and figure this out in real time. I want to do a female version of this.
Yeah.
I actually think I saw a video that you sent me a while back about this retreat that you're talking about.
Yeah.
How do we do a female version?
I think we should.
Because the husbands, but then the wives need something too, right?
It's sort of like a Queen's edition of levels. It's always been something I've wanted to do.
Yeah.
The biggest roadblock is finding the right person to do it. And so
you're looking at her.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
It's hard. It's hard to find the right person that can facilitate and create space and, an environment where women can feel comfortable showing up as exactly who they are. And so, I've contemplated several women. It's never felt right. I've thought about you as being the person who's my counterpart on the female side, but I know you're busy. You have a lot going on. And so I haven't approached you on it, but.
Well, I'm kind of in I've allowed myself to be in a winter over the last year and a half, right? Like all the seasons. It's like there's the fall, which is preparing for letting go. There's the let go, and then there's the winter. And it's been a really dark, hard winter, and it's supposed to be that way.
Yeah.
But I also have had the word no, be the word that has guided most of this last year and a half. Because I'm preparing for spring and summer.
Yeah.
Maddox is leaving my house pretty soon. And I've only ever known working a ton. That being said, when this next phase comes, which is not too far, I have purposefully kept space and made space so that the right things can arrive. And it's interesting. Just yesterday, Tyler, this is real. Yesterday, there were a couple different people who approached me about wanting to do a retreat or an event.
Yeah.
And I've also had a few others, right? So there's a handful, and none of them have felt right. I was actually talking to someone. I said, I don't know why, because everything on paper looks like it should, but like there's something not right about it. And I actually told my friend yesterday, I said, I feel like I'm in a phase where I think I just need to say no so that the rightest things can show up.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, we really should explore this, because I think this could be one of the rightest things. It's that whole, have you ever done human design?
Yeah.
Are you a generator or no?
Maybe.
I don't know. I haven't done the whole thing yet.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to have the human design girl on my podcast to do my live reading, but I do know that I'm a generator, and a generator is someone who has opportunities flowing to them freely. I would guess you are.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest things for a generator is to navigate which ones are worthy of taking and which ones are not. Like saying no is so hard. And so it really has to be something that lights your soul on fire. You can't even explain why it does or doesn't, right? It has to be a complete gut hell yes. If there's a little bit of doubt, it is a complete, you have to choose to make it a complete gut hell no. That's really hard for me, right? Because I can be like, oh my gosh, well, this person's amazing and 99% of it should make sense, but this one thing doesn't feel right. That's a gut hell no that I'm just scared to say, So we should explore it more and see if it's a gut hell yes for both of us.
We should. I think there's a certain characteristic of somebody who needs to lead the women's edition of levels, which is this. It's the level of purity that I have around why I'm doing this is so pure. It has nothing to do with a financial gain at all. Yeah. And it has everything to do with a deep desire to help men who are going through it and who are struggling. And I don't think that exists out there. I've looked far and wide, there's always some financial something.
Yeah.
And you do pay because it costs a lot of money to put these on, but
Yeah.
I'm not doing this because I need to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that shows through in just the deep kind of pure desire to bless the lives of these men and their families. So whoever does it on the women's side has to align to that. Right.
I love that. So I don't know, this podcast is going where it goes. Because I actually want to ask you more questions about you. I know you have questions about me, but we're just here. So
Let's
I
just
want to
roll.
ask.
Yeah.
But I do want to say this. The friend that I was with yesterday, she's actually a pinch me friend. I'm like, how is she so kind and so sweet to me? And how is she my friend? It's a whole worthiness thing. And ironically, her book that she just came out with is titled Worthy. It's my friend. You may or may not know who I think I mentioned her too, Jamie Kern-Lima, the sweetest woman on the planet. But what you just said about the financial gain, I bring her up because it reminds me of her. So her book, Worthy, it's a direct download from God. It's a book that she didn't feel like she was worthy of being Oprah's friend. It's her whole story is just amazing. She also was told over and over and over with this cosmetic company that she built, she was not worthy of being the face of it. You don't look like the face. You're not worthy of being the face. She was turned down by so many companies. She eventually sold to some big cosmetic company for $4 billion. So her idea, all these people's idea that she's not worthy, she never let it get to her. And she just kept going until she found someone who saw her worthiness the way that she knew she was worthy, right? And Oprah is a friend of hers. And that whole part of her story is just amazing. I feel the same as the recipient of her friendship. I feel like there's a part of me that's like, how am I worthy of her friendship, right? It's the most beautiful thing. Her book, though. So when she came out with this book, every single dollar, there's not $1 that she's made anywhere, not even in secret, that does not get donated to. So I don't remember what she's donating it to, but every single dollar of her proceeds, because she said, I believe so much that the world needs to hear this message. That is not mine, she says. This is a direct download from God to help women like me, if I'm being honest, and women listening to this podcast right now, feel worthy to live the life that they have, right? And to live their best life.
Yeah. So
it's that same genuine intention that I hear from you that I know you have, that Jamie also has. So that's a compliment. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
I want to add, I know this, right? But I don't think a lot of people know who you are, what you do, right? You're just this guy that's putting on retreats, not for money.
Pretty quietly too.
You had a podcast. You didn't start for money, and it grew hugely, really fast, right? You did not have a public brand when you and I were first friends. There was no public brand to you.
Yeah.
And I remember you were about to launch your podcast. Who are you? And what has brought you to here?
It's a great question. Do you mind if I read my I am statement?
Read it. Okay. I'm going to take a bite of my marshmallow dream bar. I'm going to try not to chew in the mic.
I love that. I want some of that.
Turn
too.
off my mic if we need to. You want some?
Yeah, I'll have some after I do this. Okay. Here's who I am.
Okay.
I'm a child of God with potential beyond human imagination.
What? Wait, hold on. Is this really the first line of it?
Yeah.
You're going to make me emotional. Hold on. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm a father to 4 sacred children and a husband to a loving wife. I'm a machine. My habits and routines can't be broken. I'm a man of my word. I do what I say I'm going to do. I'm a doer. Watch my feet, not my lips. A long game player, not distracted by instant gratification. An acceptor of people, my ability to judge does not exist. I lift others and I always bring good energy. I don't take things personally because I know who I am. Full of love for my fellow man, even-tempered because I stay present. A calm and kind man, but not to be taken lightly. My sword is sheathed and will only be used if absolutely necessary, called to change the lives of millions of men through my example.
Oh my gosh. That is amazing.
Thank you.
I actually don't think I've ever heard of bio like that before, because you know what a bio usually is.
Yeah.
I'm a New York Times bestselling author. I'm the co-host of this TV. It's what you see on my Instagram, right?
Yep.
But to know that's like your I am statement. What do you call that?
I am statement, personal creed.
Ugh.
I think if we hosted a networking event right now outside of this studio, you'd go meet a bunch of people and you'd say, who are you? And they would say, well, I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. I built a company. It's so successful. I'm a bestseller. I'm a this. Here's the deal. Our identities are not about what we've done or what we do. It's about what's deep inside. And sometimes it took me a lot of years to figure out who I really was, because I was always attached to success. Like one of the biggest tech successes in Arizona history, raised money, was acquired by a public company. First, Porsche was our investor, first American company ever backed by Porsche. All these big accolades. And then I sold my company at 31 and had some success and some money. And I was at the pinnacle of the mountain, if you will. And then 5 months later, I almost lost my wife. And that pretty quickly, I realized, wait a minute, none of this stuff actually matters that much at the end of the day. The only thing that really matters is the depth and meaning of the relationships that we have. And I realized I wasn't a great father. I wasn't a great husband. I wasn't a great friend. I wasn't a great son. I wasn't a great brother. And that left me feeling pretty empty.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow. So I have more questions, but interestingly, I was just at an event. I always have the hardest time when people say, what do you do? I was at an event. It was the first event I had ever attended instead of spoken at.
Yeah.
And people would come up, they would say, oh, so-and-so said I need to follow you. Who are you and what do you do? And my life coach was next to me. And I just said, I'm Heidi. I said, I'm a mom of 4. And I actually said, I'm a child of God. And my life coach is like, no. But I said, I'm serious. At the deepest layer, that's actually who I am. All the other things, I don't want to tell you who I am, because what if you only like me because of that? And that's stripped away, right? So totally. Tyler, I love that so much. Like, I knew you were deep, but you just unraveled a whole layer of depth to yourself. Like, you revealed it.
Most people don't know what I do, but it's by design, because I find it very uninteresting. It's like, yeah, look, I'm a shareholder in 20 companies today. I own half of them, the whole thing. Like, yeah. So if you ranked me against entrepreneurs in Arizona, it's like, I'm probably way up there, but I just it doesn't fill my cup.
You don't talk about it a lot.
I don't talk about it, but it's meant to be that way, because I find that those conversations become very shallow, and there's really not a great place for them. So here's what we do at our retreats. Everybody flies in Thursday. We meet at this giant mega mansion, right? We all get together. We have dinner Thursday night, and it's kind of the kickoff to the retreat. I have everybody go around and spend 30 seconds talking about what they do. Okay. What do you do? I don't care about who you are. Everybody goes around, they talk about what they do, and I go, that will be the last time that we talk about what we do for this entire weekend. Period. End of story. If I hear it, there's no room for it. We don't talk about. Yeah. Now we're going to focus on identity. So the first exercise we do is an exercise around identity, where we talk about our inner critics and what are the things that the inner critic says to you on a daily basis. And we go through a whole exercise around that. And then we create these I am statements. And we literally, there's a spot where you have to sign at the end of the retreat. that who I said I am, this is who I will be moving forward. So you're committing, you're signing on the dotted line that this is who I'm going to be forever.
Choosing to live into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I'll no longer introduce myself as what I do or what I've done, but who I am.
Did that change after you almost lost your wife?
Yeah, that's the moment that it all changed for me, for sure.
There was something else you were saying not too long ago in this conversation that there was, like you said, there was a pivotal point a few years ago. Was that the point you were referring to?
Yeah.
What happened?
So we were pregnant with our previous fourth child, and I was in New York City. I was traveling a ton. I had just sold my company. I was there at NASDAQ going on CNBC with the CEO of the parent company. This is like every entrepreneur's dream. And I got a call March 1st of 2022, and it was 8 a.m. New York time, which was 5 a.m. Arizona time. It was my mother-in-law. And I had this sick feeling that something was wrong. And so instead of answering the phone and saying, hello, I actually answered and I said, hey, what happened? Because I knew. And she said, Brooklyn, who's my wife, is being rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. She's in critical condition. We don't know what's going on, but you should get home. So I spent, New York City and Phoenix, Arizona are about as far as you can get here domestically. And so I spent the next 8 hours receiving text message updates from my father-in-law. Hey, just got to the hospital. Hey, they checked her into triage. They did an ultrasound. They found 2 liters of blood in her abdomen. She's bleeding out. And then the next one was a photo of the diagnosis, which said ruptured ectopic pregnancy. And this is when the baby's not growing in the uterus, it's growing in the fallopian tube. And if you don't catch it soon enough, it will expand and it will burst. And then essentially your organs are all exposed and you just bleed out. So I go to Google, I research this, and more than 90% of cases when this happens in the home, it's lethal. And so I went from having hope that, every time bad things happen, they just seem to work themselves out, to my wife's going to die. And I was sure of it. And so I spent, I'm getting text message updates. Hey, they just rushed her in for surgery, still in surgery for 4 hours. And as the plane is now descending, I get a message from him that says something to the effect of, brace yourself, she's not going to make it. And so I read that text and was convinced that she was gone. Yeah. He just wasn't telling me that she was gone. So, sort of that 4 or 5 hour period of time, every emotion that you can possibly have, your life flashes before your eyes. Anybody who's been through trauma understands this. And I asked myself a lot of questions, like, what is this all about? Who is God? Is God real? There's, in moments like, no way. I'm flipping through these stages of grief. I land, I run through the airport, jump in my Uber, get to the hospital, run past the emergency room. I go up 2 floors, and I'm expecting my father-in-law to be there to embrace me and just say, I'm so sorry. And all I'm hoping at this point, by the way, is that her body is there, so I can just see her one more time before they take her away. And I open the door, and the first thing I realize is that audibly the heart rate monitor is still going. So I hear the beep of the heart rate monitor. So I feel this deep level of just gratitude for one more moment. And anyways, I sit down at her bedside and I look at him and I say, hey, how's she doing? And one of the hardest things ever is that I still get super emotional about is the fact that her father was the one that was there, not me, this whole time. And before he can even answer, she has this incredible reaction, this seizure-like reaction. And it was really scary. And I ran out into the hall and nurses came in to calm her down. And, I go to bed that night. I remember that night I was sleeping on the couch next to her. And the doctors were telling me that basically any moment that she's going to flatline. She just lost too much blood. And so I've got my eyes peeled looking at the heart rate monitor, just praying to God, please just keep this thing going somehow, some way. And that one night turned into a second night, into a third night. And on the fourth day, she started coming to. She opened her eyes, started to communicate. And I remember asking her, I said, do you remember what happened when you had that crazy seizure-like thing? Were you coherent for that at all? What happened? And she said, when I heard your voice, it gave me life. And that was that was a really tender moment for us because, we weren't perfect at that time, and you're always working through it, but it was you talk about marriage as a unit, as being one. And that was a moment where that became really prevalent to me. So we ended up seeing a lot of miracles. There was a lot of stuff that happened over the next 30 days that were touch and go, if you will. We lost that baby in the process, which was like, you didn't really even realize it because you were so concerned for her. And it took us a few months to actually mourn the loss of our child. And, silver lining, fast forward to today, she's healthy, she's well. We had another child against all odds. And, life is good and it's beautiful. But that was a moment where I'll describe my life forever as like the 30 something years leading up to that moment, and then everything after. And I'm just a different person.
Really?
Yeah.
In the ways of, would you say before that moment, you would have, when someone said, "Who are you?" would you have described what you did?
For sure.
And after, it's who you actually are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of, prayer and meditation and deep thinking to actually figure out what was in there, because my identity was so attached to this young, rich, successful entrepreneur guy. And to strip that away took a lot of work.
Yeah.
But now that I have, it's, I'll never look back.
What a hard thing to go through. I didn't know. I knew there was something, right? I didn't know the details of it like that.
Yeah.
And also it's a beautiful testament to the reality that everything happens the way it's supposed to, because you are truly one of the greatest humans I know. You are. And I'm so grateful to call you a friend. And you are the person you are. Yes, because of that experience, which was so tragic, but also all the things before that you might now say you weren't proud of certain things. You know what I'm saying? It's like we are the culmination of all of the things that we're proud of and not proud of, right?
Yeah.
So I'm happy you're here.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me share that.
I loved
This was
this.
very unplanned.
Yeah, it really was. I don't even know how long we've been going for. What time is it right now?
We've got time. What time do you got to be out of here?
What?
Good.
I should be out of here in about. I have to take someone to the airport. No, but listen, have some MDB right now.
You ever heard of Uber? I can call an Uber.
Okay, where do we, Tyler? Like that, I could honestly end this podcast here and call it an entire thing, because it's so good. Like, you just sharing who you are. I almost don't even want to taint it with anything about me, because this was, I think all of what's been shared is what people need to hear. And I want to know what else you want to talk about. What else do you want to go into? Let's make this about you. Today's about you, Tyler. Cheers to you right now. Give me your glass. Let's do this.
Thanks, Heidi.
Cheers. And I really want to figure out a retreat. I love to explore. Tyler, when you explain how you start and the things you say, you don't even really know my curriculum or how I've worked with my people. You've only seen social media, but you know who I am.
Yeah. I figure there's probably a good alignment there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have, by the way, like, if you come in and do this, it it doesn't have to be my way at all. I can provide a general framework of what's worked for us, but really you'd have the creative freedom of really thinking through what's most appropriate and impactful for the women that decide to come to your retreat. So
I know I'll be doing a retreat at some point when it's right. And I know how powerful it will be because of a lot of the things I've already done.
Yeah.
And what I've done previously was before I became who I am now. And so I have no doubt, especially with the right partnerships.
Yeah.
I have no doubt. I almost want anyone listening right now who wants this to happen to DM me and Tyler. Let us know.
Yeah. What would be beautiful, Heidi, is if we could actually, so there's a couple things, like have it be a couples thing.
Mm-hmm.
So these are separate retreats.
Yeah.
The men go to one location, the women go to another, but they happen roughly the same time. And you separate, but then when you come together, that's when the magic happens. And you could argue that maybe you come together for a portion of it. Maybe at the end, everybody comes together for one
that would be
last evening
awesome
together.
I love that.
Yeah.
And maybe you even start together just because there are a lot of people whose identity is wrapped up in who they are as a couple.
Yeah.
Maybe especially the women with their man. And then almost like we dismantle it. And then it's like, no, you're going to become who you're meant to become.
Yeah.
I actually, it's interesting because when we would help people lose hundreds of pounds over the course of a year, it was really scary when a wife would choose to embark upon the journey, even if the husband was fit, right? When the wife would make the choice to shed the emotional baggage, the emotional weight, and even the physical weight, and embark upon a journey to her highest self, there's a fear that the spouse has, even if the spouse is already at their best. It's the idea of, oh my gosh, is she going to love me when she's her best self? Like she loves me now when she's not her best self, right? So there's fear of that. So what we ended, and there were a lot of relationships that broke up on our TV show after the fact because of the dynamic shift.
Yeah.
We actually, our 5th season of Extreme Weight Loss, I don't even know if you know this, but we ended up doing extreme weight loss. It was Love Can't Wait. And Love Can't Wait, we would take 2 individuals. So we would take a couple who needed to lose weight. They wanted to lose weight before their wedding. We would help them shed the weight. I would take the female, Chris would take the male. And we would both coach them individually to their best selves at the altar. And it was awesome because when you have 2 people who are committed to betterment, who are committed to taking off, peeling off the layers of who they thought they were to find out who they really are, and then choosing what they want to step into together. That's awesome. I love this idea.
Well, let's explore it.
Let's explore it. I like it. Tyler, do we have anything else we want to talk about on here?
We can wrap that one, and
should we just do it? Okay.
Then we can,
Guys, don't you love this? This is how it goes. Tyler is helping me figure out how I'm running my podcast. He's like, okay, so Heidi, this is where we end. And then we're going to start again. Well, thank you very much. Thanks. All of this started because I was curious about Las Vegas Love Sinners hat. Turns out that's not it at all. All right, Tyler, thank you.
Thanks, Heidi.
And to everybody listening, I love you guys. I appreciate you being here. And go find Tyler. Where do you want them to follow?
Just Instagram. That's
okay, good. Insta. And then we want them to, I'll put the link to your studio here in the show notes.
Yeah.
All right. Love you guys.